Yep.
Will do.
Alrighty. So the first, and we're going to use again the Theravada Paramitas as the primary one, just because it's a longer list. Okay. So the first is, so first, what are the Paramitas? There's like these perfections. They're the spiritual virtues. They're things to optimize. And then let me say this, that they're aspirations. We're moving in that direction. And what matters is the trajectory. Like, so the first parami, generosity, are we more or less moving in that direction? Dana. Okay. So yep, giving practice, so it's to give, it's to be generous. But then also, I think that something that gets neglected for us is, in this, I would also recommend opening up to the beauty of receiving. So when you receive, let it really touch you. And actually, mudita is the way in. You will like have this joy towards yourself and towards the person that's being generous towards you, and reflect on, like, oh, this is good for this person. This will bring about true happiness for them, that they give me something, or that they make this act of generosity. Like, one of the single most effective antidepressants, and immediately effective antidepressants, is to be generous. And interestingly, the studies say that what impacts the strength of the kind of antidepressant strength of the act of generosity is your assessment of how much good it's going to do the other. So if it's like something very, very minor, like you give a homeless person 25 cents, you will get less than if you were to give that same 20, well, this is not a good example, but if you were to give the same thing to someone that you think it would not help, like if you were to give $1 to a rich person versus $1 to a poor person, that you will feel more of the effect by giving the $1 to the poor person. So anyway, just kind of interesting. All right, moving on. Second parami, sila. So the five. So the five panchasila, right? The five pieces of ethics. I'll just go over them briefly. So it is to kill and harm as little as possible. That's the first. The second is to only take what is freely given. The third is to not engage in sensual misconduct or sexual misconduct, so like harmful sexuality. The fourth is not to engage in unwholesome speech like lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, gossip, and idle speech. And then the fifth is not to take intoxicants that can delude the mind and bring heedlessness. And I like to throw in there, like, you don't want to get drunk on greed, hatred, and delusion. That's a violation of the fifth precept. Anyway, so we can maybe discuss that more at some later date, but so just more about this. So sila, ethics, morality, I like to think of it as basically harmlessness and trustworthiness. That's how they break up. And it's a gift to others, and it's a gift to yourself to be harmless and trustworthy. And going back to this thing about epistemic trust, this quality of trusting the world, trusting yourself, which is so tightly correlated with mental health. So ethics are the minimal foundation upon which to build epistemic trust. And so we want to do this for ourselves. And to be clear, how we behave conditions us and conditions the way we see the world. And so we want to cultivate harmlessness and trustworthiness as a foundation for basic mental health. All right. And then also, we don't want to use this as a weapon, like I was saying, if you see a moral failing in yourself, or if you see a moral failing in someone else, this is a reason for understanding and compassion. And it's a reason to try to fix it in yourself. But, let's actually do a quick meditation. So imagine, so straighten up, push the crown of the head up. Imagine your moral failing. And then have this compassion arise. It's like, oh, this is how things are. and then see how it's problematic, how it causes difficulty in your life, and just see that and have this kind of soft gaze. Like, oh, okay, there are these ethical failings, these moral failings. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you don't want to correct them, but there's this quality of acceptance and equanimity and sweetness. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going. So we'll kind of keep this brief. So the next one is nekama. This is letting go, non-attachment, renunciation, living simply. This is what actually keeps your life simple enough to such that you have time to practice. The next is prajna or panya, wisdom. And then the way I would explain this very briefly is wisdom is no view, not fixed view. It's emptiness. It's seeing emptiness and the allowing for experience to turn into flow and to see that, to see the non-fixed nature of it. The insight into non-fixity and non-thingness, the seeing of how everything is open and flowing, uncoagulated, just process. So wisdom is kind of like deepening of wisdom is seeing things more as process rather than a thing. Okay. Virya, effort, heroism, energy. This is what helps you persevere in your spiritual cultivation. Kanti, forbearance, patience. Kshanti in Sanskrit. This is a quote, I think it might be from Ajahn Sumedho, not sure. They say, Kanti, forbearance, patience, is like a jackhammer through the defilements. This is extremely important. Everything, like y'all know the expression, what you resist persists. So everything that's stuck inside you, part of it is because you resist it and because you can't be with it with tolerance and equanimity. Part of it. I don't think that's the whole story. But one thing that we cultivate is this ability to just be tolerant and equanimous with our defilements. Okay, moving on. Satya or satya, truth, trustworthiness, truthfulness. And in my mind, this is just reiterating this aspect of trustworthiness from Sila that we saw above. Aditana, strong determination, resolve, just, persevering, pushing through. Metta. Metta is also one of the paramis in the Theravada school. And we know what metta is, loving kindness. And then this I see as kind of echoing and reinforcing the non-harming aspect of Sila. Particularly, it is the ground upon which non-harming naturally grows. So metta is where good ethics can come from. They sprout out of metta. That's the way I like to think about it. Upekkha, equanimity, and in Sanskrit upeksha, equanimity, peace, the smiling impartiality. And then this one's from the Mahayana list, dhyana, which means jhana or concentration, and that's clearly very beneficial. Alrighty. And this is just a little note I wrote. When these qualities ripen, you become nothing. Nothing fixed and nothing findable. You become vanishing. You are light and easy. Okay, that is